Everybody in the whole wide world really just needs to chill.
I was kind of curious though, because I read that as you got a bit older, you were actually studying psychology and economics. So I was curious, what was sort of the thing that propelled you into saying, you know what, no, I'm going to do music. That's going to be my career. And that's the trajectory shift, sort of, if you will.
Well, nobody in my career ever told me that I could actually make a career out of playing music. You know, even though I was a pretty good guitar player. I didn't start playing guitar till I was 15. I had done some piano with my sister earlier on, so I had the beginning knowledge of chord structure and harmony and the rest of that. But then when I got to making my own music, it was how do I put it? I'm looking at a very beautiful tree in my backyard, and it's distracted me. So repeat the question.
Oh, I'm just what caused you to shift away from possibly having a career in
Yeah,
economics
into
and
that.
the things you were studying?
As I was saying, because nobody ever told me that music could be the path, and I wasn't a great student, and I, you know, in my teens and early or late teens, trying to figure out where life was going to go. I had no idea because I wasn't skilled at anything. So I went to university basically to fulfill my parents' dream of having a son who went to university, because I was the first of my generation to do that. So I went to University of Winnipeg. Still, lots of extracurricular music was part of my life, but still not that being the career choice. And at university, the only because I wasn't a great student, the only discipline that you could actually get a job with a BA was with economics. You know, and so I looked into that, and I thought, well, you know, it's general arts is really just you don't learn anything specific in general arts. You know, you'll gain some general knowledge
Sort of
of
a
this and
stepping
that.
stone.
Yeah, exactly. But I was not going to go beyond a BA, so economics was the choice, because I could get a job with the Central Mortgage and Housing Corporation and the Canadian government, and I was primed to do that in the uh, by the time I graduated uh, University of Winnipeg, had my BA ready to move that path. You know, still trying to figure out, you know, I mean, who knows what they're going to do in their early 20s.
Of course, of course.
And my sister, who you probably read about, who was born with Down syndrome,
Yeah.
she passed away. And my father, who was able to see my graduation, you know, so there was some proud proud parenting happening there. But then he died a year later. So I had the two mortality checks of sister and father dying within a year of each other.
That's very,
That's
very
that.
intense.
Oh, very intense, and sort of it rocked my world, obviously, and made me do the soul searching that was necessary to figure out what path I was going to travel. Economics gave me something. I had a minor in psychology and English, so I had some things in my brain that I wanted to explore. But I thought, well, the one thing that has been um, and not just encouraging but enlightening for me in my life was the music. So I thought, well, let's see where that can go. You know, I don't want to be an economist. That does not fit my brain or my body. So I started playing the lounges and bars and universities and wherever I could make a couple of dollars, and that led to working with some friends in Winnipeg, and we formed a comedy show band called Cornstalk. Actually, if you ever go to a YouTube, Kornstock, you'll see that incarnation of insanity.
Oh, I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah, yeah, do it. And then it ultimately led to, in the late 70s, my ex-wife and she was a modern dance choreographer, and we'd started a children's dance theater company,
Yeah,
and
I'd read
that,
about this.
yeah, it called Sundance, and that led to creating lots of music for stage productions for families, for children. And we would bring children on stage, and we would take them through. Actually, the story of Blender that's on the first album, that was a stage presentation where
Oh.
we would get a dozen kids on stage and give them costumes to wear, and it would go through that story thread.
Hmm.
uh, so that's where that happened, and out of that, and I'm sure you read this one too, out of that particular um, stage presentation, one of the patrons approached me and asked if I had a record. And this is the late 70s. I was just getting into the business, and I had no idea how to begin to create a record. And so I took that to heart, and I said, well, yeah, well, maybe that's a good idea. And they said they would basically give me a blank check to do the record,
Wow.
and that turned into about $8,000. And I made The Cat Came Back with a batch of friends in Winnipeg, and I had product now, and I sold enough records in 6 months to pay them back, which was a point of pride for me.
Of course, yeah. That's
And
amazing.
once you're committed to an album, then that opens up a whole other channel, of direction. And I had connected with Rafi prior to doing the album, and once the record was done, I sent his company a copy. They
Promotional,
liked
yeah.
they liked what they heard, and said great, we'd love to do some work with you and bring you on board to his company. And that led to a 5-year relationship with Troubadour Records, Rafi's company there, and lots of touring and festivals. I mean, that was the heyday for family entertainment, for working with children in the late 70s.
Huh.
The decade of the 80s, there were so many, uh, the audience members were so keen on having quality entertainment for their kids. So that's when Sharon Wilson Bram, Raffi, and myself were on the scene, and we were touring nonstop in the 80s across the country, basically satisfying the need for the boomers, for that post-war generation, one of the largest demographics in history, who wanted the quality entertainment. So we were satisfying that call, and that's where when Fred Penner's Place was spawned, in 1985, and it just kept rolling,
Well,
after
yeah, I had seen that you had appeared on Sharon Lois and Bram's Elephant Show prior in the
yeah.
year prior, and I was going to ask if that was part of how your show sort of got picked up.
No, no, there
No.
was nothing connected there. CBC, well, possibly, but CBC had been following me across the country because these children's festivals that were growing, starting in Vancouver and just spreading east, and Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatoon, Regina, Winnipeg, they really got into the children's festival scene because there were so many internationally great performers who were focusing their entertainment on the children, on the family.
But
And
still
so
making
yeah.
content that was enjoyable for the adults, at least in
Oh,
my opinion.
yeah, totally. That was critical from my point of view, because I saw myself. I was a dad, and I wanted to make my music, because my music in the 70s, through acting, or my work in the 70s, was very much um, adult oriented. I mean, not in a in
Not
a in
vulgar
a
or whatever, but
not in a creepy way, but
yeah.
I but I was doing,
No,
you
I'm a
know,
comedian. I understand where you're coming from. My show is uncensored normally, and I have to kind of keep my sailor mouth under control because I'm speaking to Fred Penner here. So
there you go. You be careful
yeah, I don't want
now.
to cuss in front of
Yeah,
Fred.
yeah.